Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski is asking the U.S. Senate to nullify the EPA's greenhouse gas endangerment finding. She says she wants meaningful climate and energy legislation and that Congress needs more time to decide how to do that before EPA enacts economy-killing regulation. Her proposal is bringing a firestorm of reaction, and our executive editor, Margaret Ryan, is here to tell us about that. Margaret.
Hi, Susan. Well, the resolution is simple. It's only 8 lines. It would void the EPA's December finding that greenhouse gases endanger human health. It has 38 co-sponsors, including 3 Democrats, Senators Blanche Lincoln of Arkansas, Mary Landrieu of Louisiana, and Ben Nelson of Nebraska. Now, Murkowski says EPA's command and control regulatory approach under the Clean Air Act would harm the U.S. economy. She cited energy projects important to Alaska and EPA's recent rejection of several air permits based on greenhouse gases. Murkowski noted that everyone, including President Obama, says congressional legislation is preferable to EPA regulation, but Congress needs more time to arrive at a consensus approach that can draw 60 senators.
It's no secret that this is the centerpiece of a highly coercive strategy. It's the administration attempting to force the Congress to pass a climate bill more quickly than it otherwise would.
In fact, Murkowski says having that EPA enforcement looming over the process may be inhibiting consensus.
If we're serious about fulfilling our duty to our constituents and giving this issue the full debate that it deserves, we should take the EPA regulations off the table. Without a backstop that says emissions will be reduced one way or another, no matter how painful, supporters of climate legislation would have to get serious about finding common ground and bipartisan co-sponsors.
Now, Murkowski cited a long list of supporters, and so did California Senator Barbara Boxer, who followed her onto the Senate floor to blast the resolution. Boxer, who chairs the Senate Environment Committee, said she also wants to find consensus on regulating greenhouse gases, but Murkowski's approach is not equivalent to giving Congress more time. It's, in fact, unprecedented.
We never, ever had a senator come down to the floor to try and overturn a finding that was made by the health community. This is a new low, in my humble opinion. And the reason I say it is because, to me, I'm here for one reason: to make life better for the people that I represent. And repealing scientific health expert findings is not what I should be doing. I should be working to make sure that after I know the fact that there's a danger, what's the best way to get the carbon pollution out of the air? That's totally fair. I can tell you right now, I'm not going to get my way on the best way to do it because we don't have 60 votes for that. I understand that. That's why I'm supporting all of my colleagues that are working so hard to try and come up with the 60 votes. But you don't repeal an endangerment finding.
Now, Boxer said the scientific analysis behind the endangerment finding was done mostly under the Bush administration. Now, we should point out Murkowski is using a joint resolution to try to overturn an agency rule. This is a rarely used process, and the resolution must pass the Senate and the House and be signed by the president. The immediate reaction from Washington insiders, not a snowball's chance, but it sure has started a debate.
So, Margaret, what kind of projects did Murkowski point to that she thought EPA would stop?
Well, she mentioned generating plants being held up because the EPA is suddenly demanding greenhouse gas abatement as part of those permit applications. EPA just a week ago rejected an Arkansas state permit for a new pulverized coal plant. They said that other coal technologies, even some that are non-commercial, had to be considered. That may have been a factor in Blanche Lincoln's decision. But Murkowski was most concerned because Alaska wants, among other things, a new natural gas pipeline. And she said there is no way that CO2 can be abated from compressor stations that would have to be built. She said the technology simply doesn't exist yet, and this could sideline a project that's considered vital to the state. She also cited the expansion of a major refinery might be stopped. And again, for Mary Landrieu from Louisiana, that might also have been a consideration.
Right. Now, it's true that EPA Administrator Lisa Jackson has said regulation is always preferable?
Yeah, well, in this case, she's been unequivocal, and so has President Obama. They'd rather have legislation tailored to the climate problem, to the greenhouse gas issue, not try to use the Clean Air Act. But it's equally true that the Clean Air Act has been hanging out there in the background, kind of a hammer. And the fact is EPA is already using the finding, as the Arkansas coal plant permit shows. So, you know, the anti-coal folks are cheering over this, but these few actions are already stoking resistance. I mean, given the usual EPA time to get rules out, get them, you know, advertised and take public comment and all that, Congress should really have a couple of years to consider all of this. But we're dealing with what, you know, opponents of the Clean Air Act have warned about, and that is once a substance is listed as a danger, it starts cascading through the Clean Air Act, and it shows up in places you haven't looked for it before. And voiding the endangerment finding appears the only way to stop all of that.
So what is the international scene? How's this being viewed abroad?
Well, it's not, I mean, people are looking askance at it. You remember when Lisa Jackson came to Copenhagen, when she appeared there for the U.S. government, it was the day this finding was made. And you couldn't get near her. There was such a crowd. She was a hero to an awful lot of the people who were there. There was incredible excitement about the step that the U.S. had taken. So, you know, you're hearing the first response to this is just starting to trickle in. And you hear a lot of worries that the U.S., which they thought had finally reversed course after 8 years, you know, that suddenly we're going to turn around again, or you know, joining the international community is essentially on climate change is going to be stymied in some way. And for President Clinton, let's face it, this was, or is still, at least it's still at this point, kind of an ace in the hole in dealing with an otherwise recalcitrant Congress.
Right. Okay. And we'll keep monitoring the fallout. Margaret Ryan, thank you.